From The National, this is Trending Middle East. I'm Yasmin Al-Taji. It's Thursday, August 7th. Here are today's headlines. Lebanese security officials are warning of fears that Israel might attempt to infiltrate its eastern region from Syria. This comes after recent military advances in Syria itself, which neighbors Lebanon. Two security sources speaking on condition of anonymity said Israeli forces were quietly and gradually moving through areas of Syria near the Lebanese border. The National's Mohamad Ali Harisi is here with more.
This would be the first time that Israel invades or enters Lebanon by force from its eastern region. The security sources said that the Israeli forces were quietly moving through the areas of Syria near the Lebanese border. They said that several Israeli troops have been deployed in Qatana, which is a strategic location about 30 kilometers north of the occupied Golan Heights, 20 kilometers southwest of Damascus, and only 10 kilometers from Lebanon. One of the sources said that the Israelis can now see the eastern region of Lebanon and claimed that this is a very serious threat to the country.
Since the fall of the Assad regime in Syria in December, Israeli warplanes have routinely targeted positions along the frontier between Lebanon's Bekaa Valley and Syria, part of a campaign to disrupt the transfer of weapons to Hezbollah. Last year, Israel launched heavy airstrikes on Lebanon's eastern region, including Baalbek, hitting towns and villages with a known Hezbollah presence and suspected arms depots. The strikes caused widespread destruction across the valley.
Security officials now have this concern that Israel could use its positions in southern Syria to stage ground incursions into eastern Lebanon with the aim of dismantling Hezbollah's missile launchers and strike its storage facilities.
Syrian government operation in Sweida last month was the costliest violence for the government since it assumed power. But many leadership figures didn't think that would be the case. A source who spoke to The National said there were early disputes about the risk of an operation in Sweida. The National's Khaled Yacoub Oweis reports.
A decision last month by President Ahmed al-Shara to send troops and tanks to Sweida have prompted Israeli intervention to defend the Druze minority.
Before Israel launched its strikes, Syrian and Israeli officials had reportedly met in Baku, Azerbaijan. That was part of a process supervised by the U.S. and Turkey that aimed to end a 7-decade state of war. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio had said the Israeli strikes in Syria were probably a, quote, misunderstanding, unquote, between Damascus and Israel.
The National has been able to shed some light on the calculations behind Mr. al-Shara's decision. Even some of the supporters of Mr. al-Shara are questioning why the government has become involved in what could become a protracted conflict.
The clashes in Sweida could undermine a drive by many European governments to return Syrian refugees. That's been a main goal behind a rush in Europe to build up ties with Ahmed al-Shara and provide funding for recovery projects. At least 20 people have been killed after an aid lorry overturned on a crowd of people in central Gaza. This comes as condemnation of starvation caused by Israel's blockade grows. Footage posted by the Palestinian Wafa news agency showed dead and injured bodies after the lorry overturned near the Nseirat refugee camp on Wednesday. It's the latest in a string of tragedies to affect aid seekers. Gaza's Civil Defense Agency spokesperson told AFP that the lorry was driving on an unsafe road that Israel had previously bombed. Hamas has accused Israel of forcing lorry drivers to take dangerous routes to reach aid distribution centers and says it's aimed at, quote, engineering, unquote, starvation and chaos. Israel's government maintains it is not to blame for harrowing images of emaciated children in Gaza. It says there are unused aid supplies in Gaza and accuses Hamas and the UN of preventing their delivery. But an Israeli blockade on the enclave has made the delivery of supplies almost impossible. That's all for this morning's headlines. You can get these stories and more at thenationalnews.com. Yasmin Al-Taji, The National.